Hey everyone, how's it going? So the new Roadhouse movie just came out this past Friday. So this past weekend, I went back and watched the original Roadhouse movie from 1989 with my parents. None of us had seen it. And then my brother joined us so we could watch the new one. And wow, totally different. The original one I think is an awesome movie, whereas the new one is absolute freaking garbage. It's so bad, my mom and brother totally bailed in the middle of the movie. I stuck out the rest of the movie with my dad, but man, it's a terrible movie. But I'll get to a little more about that in a second. First, I want to talk about the original movie. The original movie from 1989 is a really cool movie. I really enjoyed it, and it's nothing revolutionary or nothing even remotely close to being among the best movies of all time or anything like that. But it's a fun movie with cool action, cool fights, and I think a good, fun story with some well-developed characters. I think Patrick Swayze is great as Dalton. He's really cool, likable protagonist, cool guy who can fight well, but also I think develops over the course of the movie. And I get invested in him. I care about him. He's interesting. He has an interesting personality. Interesting things happen to him, and I'm rooting for him. He's a really likable protagonist. And Wade Garrett is really cool mentor figure for him. Really cool, charismatic, likable guy, but also again meaningful as well. And like I said, a good mentor figure for Dalton. And then the doctor, she's really cool. I like her a lot as well. Just some cool characters that I've become invested in, and some really irritating, annoying villains who are definitely over the top and kind of silly, but it works in the sense that they're so unlikable. It's very satisfying to have, when Dalton is able to finally, defeat them, right? Dalton and the other heroes of the movie are able to come out victorious in the end and defeat the bad guys, right? And beat them. So the fact that they're so annoying, the villains, right, is, it's exciting in the end when they're beaten. So, they play their part, well for this movie, I think. And overall, it's just a fun combination of cool, fun, silly, sort of cheesy, but still really cool action and some cool characters. It's a fun movie. It's awesome. I had a lot of fun with it. I like it a lot. And I would definitely watch it again down the road. Whereas the new one is just so freaking bad. It's nothing even remotely. It's not a fun movie. It's not exciting. There's nothing to get me invested in it. It's not. There's no meaning at all to it. There's no nice messages really, or very few. Nothing to. It's just very shallow. There's not a lot of the messaging that was, some of the messages that are in the early one. And then on top of it, it's not fun. It's not enjoyable. The characters, I don't get invested in any of the characters. None of the characters, apart from maybe a few, they don't pull me in. They don't get me invested in their stories. It just seems fake and just, I don't know, very surface level, there's nothing there to get me invested in really any of the story or anything that's going on. And there's too many things that are pulled. They're trying to have callbacks to the original, but they end up just falling flat and being uninteresting. The humor just doesn't land. It's not funny. It's not entertaining. And a lot of the characters even the Dalton character, Jake Gyllenhaal I think is a good actor. I like him, but his Dalton is nowhere near as interesting as Patrick Swayze's Dalton. Jake Gyllenhaal here doesn't really turn in one of his best performances. I just think it's, I don't know, just his character is one of the most interesting parts of the movie, but that's not saying much. One of the worst parts of the movie is Conor McGregor, to be honest. His character, Knox, is horrible. It's just unbelievable how stupid and pointless and annoying his character is. Just laughably bad. They could have done something way cooler with Conor McGregor, but holy crap. He's terrible in this movie. And the villains are terrible. Brandt is just irritating and stupid. And I don't know. There's not anything there's not as much of a structure, anything built up really about what Dalton's doing at the Roadhouse here. In the original you have Patrick Swayze's Dalton, he comes in and you see him kind of start to establish his kind of game plan there. You see him kind of go over and survey everybody's working there and get rid of the bad people and focus on getting good people there to work with him and clean that place up, get the bad crowd out and build it into a place where it's safe and fun for people to hang out. You get to see him do his job as a cooler and do his thing, right? Whereas here that structure is lacking. You don't really see much of a game plan or him really build or develop this place at all. It's just not really anything going on. And then his backstory, just the whole thing with him in the UFC and kind of like his mental struggles, like they kind of had the flashbacks and they hint at things, but it never really goes anywhere. It really ends up kind of coming full circle or anything. And and most of the other side characters are just either totally boring and uninteresting or just really irritating. The father and daughter at the bookstore were some of the only side characters where I was somewhat invested, but they didn't there's so much more potential there, and they didn't end up turning them into. They could have been much more interesting. It could have been something, great in the story, but they didn't really do much with them. So them and Dalton are really some of the only parts that are even remotely interesting for me. But again, it's not saying much. Overall, this movie just sucks. And even the action, even though this is a much more modern movie, the action looks faker and just stupider. I mean, I don't know what they did to choreograph the fights, but they look terrible. And I don't know. I could go over a million different things, but suffice to say, this movie sucks. I would pass and skip it. I don't really say that often because even kind of bad movies can in some ways be entertaining. Like, things can be laughably bad. This is some of that, but also just kind of irritatingly bad as well. Especially when you have the original, that's a cool movie. I would just go watch the original. Go watch the original, enjoy that, and only watch this movie if you're okay with watching a movie that sucks, I guess, And I never expected this new movie to be as good as the original. I went in expecting look, I don't think this could be as good, but I still thought it'd be kind of a cool remake. I thought they could do some cool things with it, even if it wouldn't be as good. But man, was I stunned at just how bad this movie is. So I would pass on this movie. Go watch the original from 1989. I think that'll be worth your time. That's a really cool movie. But anyways, that's all I have for today. Thank you all so much for watching. Please let me know your opinions and thoughts down in the comment section below. And thanks for watching.